Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by the one and only Michael Cohen. We've got a lot to discuss today. Special counsel Jack Smith lets Trump know that he is officially a target of the criminal investigation. Indictments are becoming ever closer. This, as Donald Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, appears to be cooperating with special counsel Jack Smith. Donald Trump is having a hysterical breakdown on social media, all caps, ranting and raving like a complete lunatic. The GOP's latest attempt at defaming President Biden with some hearsay BS document is exposed. The Supreme Court makes a major voting rights decision, a surprising one, an important one, preserving the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And the Republicans are saying the Canadian wildfires and the smoke from it is good, and everybody should go out there and breathe it. It is not good. It is very dangerous, and the Republicans just take the most deranged position on everything. And I want to start with that, Cohen, because I always start off these episodes by asking you how you're doing and your health, the health of everybody, all the brigaders, everybody in New York, everybody, in general, is my first and foremost priority here before we get into all the news. Like, how are you doing? I know you live in New York, and those wildfires and smoke, no joke.
Yeah, I live in New York City, and I can tell you that it's been really eerie. It almost looks like you're on a set of a movie. It's really super creepy, to be honest with you. To my brigaders and those that have read my book and they understand, I do have respiratory issues, which is one of the reasons that I was successful in getting out pursuant to the CARES Act. I have diminished lung capacity as a result of a series of pulmonary embolists that nearly ended my life when I was 39 years of age. I did go out both yesterday for a little bit and also today for a very short period of time. And I can tell you, I feel it in my lungs. I feel it in my sinuses as well. It's an interesting smell. It's hard to explain. It smells like burnt wood mixed in with water. I mean, it's a very interesting odor as a direct result, I guess, because it's been floating around in the air. And, it's obviously the remnant of that massive, massive wildfire that's taking place there in Canada. But amazing on just how quickly and it goes to show you, this is where Joe Biden is 100% correct, where he wants to ensure that climate change, that the environment is taken more seriously than it was under the previous administration. Look how fast that this smog, that this result of the wildfire moved from Canada to New York. I mean, it's like as quickly as if it was an aircraft. It's really, truly amazing how fast, air pressure moves, and it's why it makes perfect sense why we all share, of course, the same oxygen on this planet. So, good for Joe Biden and something that's desperately needed. But yeah, I am feeling it, Ben.
And we all wish you the best. Stay inside, stay healthy. That's always what we all care about here. When I always see the comments on the YouTube, you are a national treasure, Cohen, and we all want to make sure that you are.
I don't know about that one, my brother, but I appreciate it.
Well, maybe you're not a national treasure, but I want you to be okay. You're one of my best friends, and I want you to be okay. But we do a bit here on the MeidasTouch network, on the podcast I do with my brothers. There's another live show tonight, and some of the other shows where I talk about, on every single issue, the MAGA Republicans have the most pro-death or just deranged view of it. And if there is a common sense solution, you could be sure that the Republicans are going to take the solution that leads to harm and death. So I talk about, when it came to COVID, they spread all this disinformation. They seem to want to smear their freaking snot on vegetables, and they go nuts there, and they hate masks and they burn them. When it comes to the insurrection, not only do they support the insurrectionists, they're like, you know what would be a good idea? Let's sing songs with them. Let's come up with a freaking choir together. You know, when it comes to climate change, as you mentioned, they're like, let's just have more toxic chemicals in the air, right? When it comes to these wildfires, what we're seeing, and Matthew Gertz points this out great for Media Matters. He goes, Fox's handling of the Canadian wildfires is a speed run of its deadly COVID coverage. This is what Fox is saying. The danger's overblown. Masks are for losers. Smoke isn't that bad for you. And there you have that Jesse Waters idiot from Fox basically saying that he's braving the hazardous air quality to take a breath of fresh air. And this is one of the commentators who went on Fox, one of the guests. This is actually what they're pushing. I want to show you this. Here, play this clip of the Fox guest that says there's just no health risk when there's a freaking massive health risk. This is what they're platforming. Play this clip.
Look, the air is ugly. It's unpleasant to breathe. And for a lot of people, they get anxiety over it. But the reality is there's no health risk. Okay, there's EPA research. They've done lots of clinical research on asthmatics, on elderly asthmatics, on children, on elderly with heart disease. Not a cough or a wheeze from any of them. We have this kind of air in India and China all the time. No public health emergency.
Speaking of, do you notice, like, in all the coverage of, Bill Ware, the tailpipes, all this stuff, they never, ever mention the fact at the top that China is the #1 polluter in the world. Never.
Yeah, this is like clean air in China. I mean, it's really bad. They in the winter, they never turn on their scrubbers for the air pollution because they don't care. Weir has no idea what he's talking about. This doesn't kill anybody. This doesn't make anybody cough. This is not a health event. This has got nothing to do with climate. First off, this is wildfire smoke. This is natural. This is not because of climate change. It's not because of fossil fuel, internal combustion engines. He just has no idea what he's talking about.
All day, by the way, it seemed like the media figures that we've become accustomed to seeing on television during these crises, they seemed like they were back in their element and kind of almost enjoying the moment of wearing masks again, didn't they? They seemed to have a little pep in their step with those masks.
I mean, you can't do more of an injustice to those people that are watching that show than what Laura Ingraham and Malloy just did. It is the same level of stupidity that we witnessed when Mike Pence was standing there at CPAC after douchebag Donald went ahead and turned around and told everyone, don't worry, COVID, it's like a flu, it's a cold, it'll be gone in 72 hours. Just go out, enjoy yourselves, go back to work, see your friends and your family, and 1 million people died. First of all, it's absolutely not true. Now compare that. I was watching, it was both on CNN, and then there was another person on MSNBC. I think CNN was not Sanjay Gupta. I think it's his brother who got up there, and they put out an entire, what do you call it, like a PowerPoint presentation of just how damaging that breathing in this toxic fumes actually is. And the number of people who have now been hospitalized or who have gone to the hospital for pain and discomfort in their chest, difficulty in breathing, this sort of toxic air, because remember, the air is carrying particles from the burnt wood and so on. This is not as described there on Fox, and the level of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation that they are spreading, I only hope that down the road that there is no repercussion. It's the first time that I actually hope that Fox is right, that, you're not going to see anything. I don't agree with them. And down the road, if in fact it is determined that this did cause health risks, wouldn't that be something if there's another one, class action lawsuit against Fox News for misstating what they know to be accurate or what medical doctors and scientists are saying right now? It's just it's so stupid, and it's so disingenuous, and it's so inappropriate what Laura Ingraham is doing. that I can't even understand why they're actually making the statements that they are. What is the benefit that they see in this? Is it simply because Joe Biden wants to work on the climate, wants to work on air quality and water quality for Earth? I mean, I don't know what their end game is, but whatever it is, it's definitely misinforming the public.
Here is this is also on Fox. This is Republican Representative Mark Molinaro on Fox and Friends, basically saying it's really too soon to politicize this. The Democrats are politicizing it. It sounds exactly what the Republican talking point is after the
They're not
Daily Mag-
politicizing it. That's the whole thing. Again, it's the whole Fox News misinformation, disinformation, malinformation. Nobody is politicizing this wildfire in Canada. They are issuing what is called a health warning. They are saying that young children should not go out and play in the playgrounds. They're saying that people who are generally runners should not go to the park and go run their 22.8 miles. They're saying to people, try to limit your exposure to the air quality, which is really super poor right now, at least here in New York. Limit the amount of, we'll call it ingestion of this air and this negative air quality that exists. Limit it. That's all that they're saying. This isn't politicization. This is just plain stupidity again.
Here's the clip of MAGA Republican Representative Mark Molinaro with that stupid talking point. Play this clip.
AOC can say for lecturing for the floor of the House. Right now, there are countless firefighters, there are families being impacted, senior citizens, folks with respiratory issues. There's little question that Canada needs to obviously focus on forest management, but this isn't the moment to start lecturing people about the science of climate change. Right now, it's about putting out a fire and keeping people safe.
And we're looking at
They go with the talking point of AOC this, AOC that. Meanwhile, the House
Does
Republicans.
this guy not sound to me like Quagmire, right, from
He looks
Family
like
Guy?
Quagmire.
Giggity, giggity, giggity. Oh, yeah, right. I mean,
The whole MAGA,
okay.
the whole MAGA Republican, they're all quagmires, and they're in a quagmire now as well, as the American people see that they are so radical, so extreme. They do nothing. The House of Representatives is essentially shut down in terms of any voting that's taking place because the Freedom Caucus wing of the MAGA Republicans, they are protesting the fact that Kevin McCarthy voted for the historic debt ceiling bill. So they are now voting down every time Kevin McCarthy tries to introduce a rule vote, which would just allow for debate to take place. The last time a rule vote was ever struck down was over 20 years ago. And essentially what the Matt Gaetzes of the world and the Lauren Boeberts have done is they've shut down business in the House of Representatives, and the bill that Kevin McCarthy was introducing that the House Freedom Caucus members voted against, they put forward a bill about their gas stove conspiracy, and they were saying that Biden's trying to take away their gas stoves. That's just simply false. That was parroted by Fox and all the MAGA Republicans. So they did a rules vote on that. That's their main issue. Like, they're not talking about jobs or education or healthcare or Social Security. They're talking about their gas stove conspiracy. But then they voted down the rules bill to debate gas stoves. And now all effective business in terms of debate and voting, all of that is shut down right now, and they control that house, and just so dangerous. It's just idiocracy meets fascism, Cohen.
Yeah, I mean, it's plain stupidity. There's no other way to describe this, Ben. This is just plain stupidity. There are toxins that are in the air right now as a direct result of the burnt wood. It's just factual. It's scientific. For what reason that these people would turn around and tell you, hey, yeah, why don't it's like, stick your head into the gas stove, while it's on. That's what these maggots are turning around and telling their own supporters to do. Oh, don't worry about it. Go on out. How many Republicans, how many maggots ended up dying? I think it was actually Don Lemon went back to his to his old town in Louisiana, where he met up with a woman who, he had known growing up, who was unfortunately dying of COVID, because she developed, I guess, was blood clots and other forms of respiratory problems. And this was at the very inception when COVID first came out. And, she was a total anti-vaxxer, anti-mask, Republican, COVID denying dope. And she turned around and she was literally on the oxygen and on her deathbed, saying to Don Lemon, boy, was I stupid to listen to these people. And look, this is the big problem when you're talking about this Republican field, when you're talking about these maggots, just to sort of bring it into perspective here. You might recall, Ben, when I testified before the House Oversight Committee, before the Honorable Elijah Cummings, God rest his soul. What a good man. And I said to Mark Meadows at that time, I know what you're doing. And I'm telling, look at what happened to me. Trust me, this will happen to you. Don't make the same mistake that I made. And I even put it into my speech, in my opening speech, when I said, I don't want anyone in this country to make the same mistake that I made. All right. Well, look at what's happening right now. He made a mistake. He basically, he made this Faustian mistake whereby he thought that he would be able to garner, I guess it's power and wealth based upon his proximity to Trump. And look at what happened. He is going down in a ball of flame. There's a possibility. I know that people have said that there is an immunity deal that was given to Mark Meadows. Well, maybe so, but there's a real chance that this guy is going to lose a whole lot more, than just his credibility, his reputation. He may end up losing his freedom as well. We'll see what happens with that. But this is the problem. They talk bullshit. They absolutely spew nonsense. They go against science. And what happens? People get sick from it. What about those people who are highly sensitive, who have comorbidities such as myself, but people who have much worse? There was a guy who was with me when I was at Otisville who had less than 15% lung capacity. He really had a terrible, terrible, terrible case of COPD. Which is, obstructive pulmonary disorder. And, it was a real problem. We thought we were going to lose him a few times. Whether like this, with this sort of smoke inhalation, which is really what's going on here, this is something that could really affect him. So there are a lot of people who have comorbidities that are quite significant. They cannot be outside. What about all these people that you see walking around with the oxygen tanks? You think that it's smart in order to be outside when you have the toxins in the air from the burnt wood? The answer, of course, is no. But do Republicans give a shit? And yet there's still so many that are following this party down this dumpster fire. Yep. I can't understand what they're thinking.
You mentioned Mark Meadows, Donald Trump's former chief of staff. One of the things that we do know for a fact is that Mark Meadows has testified before, we believe, both grand juries, the one investigating the January 6th insurrection and Donald Trump's election interference, as well as the other grand jury involving Donald Trump's theft of thousands of government records and obstruction of justice. So I think we can say with a degree of certainty that took place. Now, Mark Meadows could have invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. The fact that we have not heard that he invoked his Fifth Amendment right and that he testified tells us, and I think is a data point, that he is cooperating. And a lot of the credible reporting out there is that Meadows is indeed cooperating with special counsel Jack Smith and has spoken before the various grand juries to discuss what happened. There was a report from the Independent that suggested that Mark Meadows agreed to plead guilty. Mark Meadows' lawyers, to be very clear, after that story was published, denies that he accepted a guilty plea in order to cooperate, but did not deny the cooperation and did not deny that there may be what's called derivative use immunity, which is a limited form of immunity where, in connection with testimony that is given, a prosecutor could not use that testimony or what's derived from it to prosecute somebody like Mark Meadows, unless, of course, they commit perjury. And you could use other information that you get outside of the testimony from the person who's given the derivative use immunity. But I think that one of the biggest data points suggesting that Meadows truly is cooperating is what we heard from Alina Habba, Donald Trump's other lawyer, who you know well, Cohen, earlier in the day. And this is what Alina Habba said. Play this clip.
Mark Meadows comes out, okay, or it comes out that Mark Meadows is actually working with the prosecution to potentially get a plea deal, to plead guilty to certain things to help the prosecution against Donald Trump. What?
That he has immunity. That's what we're hearing. It's obviously news to me. I just learned it with you. But yeah, that's what we're hearing, is that he was granted immunity, so effectively he would be a key witness against the president and give testimony in opposition of him, which, as we've seen, honestly, Carl, time and time again, this is what they did to Alan Weisselberg in the DA case in New York. This is what they do time and again to anybody that is close to the Trump world, President Trump, because they have nothing. So they have to squeeze people, scare people, and intimidate them into testifying and in the direction that they want. Right. It's very disturbing.
You know, look, Ben, what else can she possibly say? She did as best as anyone could possibly do in trying to rationalize the inappropriate, illegal, actions of Donald J. Trump. What else could she possibly say? Oh, yeah, they're squeezing people. No, what happens is they have the goods. Did they have to squeeze Mark Meadows in order to, use that recording of Donald Trump bragging about having this top secret document? Oh, but don't worry, I can't show it to you, right? Because, it's not declassified, and that would be a problem, which again for him now creates a very significant problem in the fact that he can no longer make the claim that he didn't know about the declassification process and how it worked. He knew that he could not show it. Now, chances are he showed it anyway. Do you think Donald Trump gives a shit about classification procedures or declassification procedures? The answer is fuck no, he does not. He doesn't care about anything. He was either showing off or they sold it for whatever the reason might be, whether it was for, I don't know, Jared's $2+ billion. Maybe they were doing it in order so that Live Golf would play at his various different clubs because he couldn't get a PGA, tour at them. Who knows what the reason is? But I've been saying since literally the raid that the question is not what did Donald Trump have? The question the FBI now needs to focus on, and they still need to focus on, is what did he do with those documents? Who did he show those documents to? And I wanted to, as a goof, when I was on Nicole Wallace, I wanted to play a game almost like Where's Waldo? Where did Donald Trump go? All right. From the moment that he left the White House, which are the different places that he spent any time at, whether it's his Fifth Avenue apartment, whether it's Trump National in Palos Verde, whether it's Trump National in Bedminster or Westchester or Eric's home or Don's home, Ivanka's home, obviously any of the properties across the street from Mar-a-Lago, wherever this guy's ass was, that's where you need to go. And you need to figure out who he saw there and whether or not there's a possibility that he gave them or showed them things, because there are documents that are missing. So you have file folders that are marked top secret, and those file folders are empty. Then there's rumors now, and I don't know, look, I don't want to make the allegation that this is 100% verified, because it is not, but there are reports that some of the documents that were in those file folders are actually not the original documents, but rather they are photocopies. So my question then I would want answered, and again, it needs to be answered because this is all about national security, not just for our country and for methods and process, but also for the protection of our allies. We need to know who he showed them to. Why are there photocopies? Where are the originals? Did he give the originals away? When I say give them away, he doesn't give shit away for nothing. Did he sell them to somebody? These are questions we need answers, which is why that Donald, they're looking to basically charge him pursuant to the Espionage Act, which requires that if you are in possession of these documents and that you cannot show them to people who do not have the authorization by the U.S. government to see them. You cannot maintain them and use them and hold them and show them to people and even to discuss it with people who don't have the proper classification, to know about those documents. That's what this is all about. And it's an obstruction of justice case as well, because things that we do know emphatically is that he had these documents. He was asked to return them, not once, not twice, but multiple times. And he elected not to do so.
I don't want to go on a detour from this very important conversation that we're having about the updates in Special Counsel Jack Smith's criminal investigation, but you mentioned the Live Golf Tournament, and we know that some of the subpoenas Special Counsel Jack Smith sent out is about the Trump organization's relationship with the Live Golf Tournament, the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund-backed organization that just merged this week, shockingly and surprisingly, nauseatingly with the PGA, and relationships between the Trump organization and the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund and Live. I want to talk to you, though, briefly about this Live PGA merger, though, and I want to get your take on it. And obviously, it's completely nauseating. But as we talked about earlier in the show, it's like Republicans take the worst position on every issue, the most harmful to the American interest, right? When it comes to Ukraine, where are they going to side with literally our enemy, Vladimir Putin, right? When it comes to COVID, where are they going to side with disinformation? They're going to side with the pandemic. When it comes to the insurrectionists, what are they going to do? They're going to literally sing songs with the insurrectionists and support the insurrectionists. And so here, all those people who were like, America first, to see them all with the number one cheerleader being Donald Trump, like celebrating the fact that the PGA is being taken over by the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, and for them to go, that's America first. It's like, what in the world are everybody? What's going on with your mind? And and you see Donald Trump at these Live Golf tournaments, he's asked questions about 9/11. He spreads 9/11 conspiracy theories, and he says, we don't really know what happened on that date. Like it is beyond disqualifying conduct. It is as despicable as you get. And to see this merger announced the way it was, and to see Republicans universally cheering this on and all the MAGAs cheering it on, it's sickening.
Listen, at the end of the day, Ben, this is only about money. This isn't about human rights. It isn't about what's right and what's wrong. It ignores the families of the 4,000 Americans that died right at the World Trade Center, which the airplanes were flown by Saudis. Jamal Khashoggi being dismembered while in Turkey. Who was the first phone call? This is not necessarily only about Donald Trump, the Trump organization, and the relationship, this cozy relationship with the Saudis, specifically Mohammed bin Salman. This is also about Jared Kushner's unholy relationship with Mohammed bin Salman. All right, this is a money grab galore. All right. The Republicans don't care. So when they want to wave around the American flag and sit there and talk about, how at this point in time, it's America, make America great again, and so on. When you have people who kill 4,000 Americans, and sadly, I knew more than I would more than my share of people who unfortunately died on 9/11. I don't even know how, when I see them, that I can ask them how they're feeling about this traitorous act by the PGA, by the United States, allowing this merger to go forward. I think it's an unholy alliance. Now, what they've done is they managed to figure out how to take advantage of the PGA's, we'll call it, money grab themselves. I understand what Liv did here, and it actually makes sense if you are a player. I mean, now all of a sudden they have their money. The Saudis have their money in the hands of this guy Messi, right? The soccer player, $400 million for a year. They have so much money to throw around. Next thing you know, they're going to buy the Yankees, or they'll buy the Red Sox, or they'll buy, the Philadelphia Flyers. Why shouldn't they? How about the 76ers change the flag, right? The red, white, and blue uniforms that they have to the colors of the Saudi flag. I mean, they have so much money within which to throw around. Take the PGA as an example. Really, the only guys that were making money, the players, were like the top 10 guys. Everybody else, basically, struggled. Well, Liv came up with the concept. Everybody, the top 100 players, should all be able to make money during this. And they have so much money that they don't care the fact that they're going to lose this enormous amount of money. They're trying to buy respectability. The way to do that is not the way that they're doing through the PGA or merging with the PGA. There are other ways that the Saudis could have used their money within which to, build a better world reputation, but that's not what they chose to do. And this is a real problem. And personally, I'd like to see the Department of Justice step in and not allow this to happen. Now, again, is it an overreach on, private investment? I think the answer is probably yes. But I think the fact that there's this merger that's going on, this unholy alliance between the two, no good. And I will never watch golf ever again. Yeah. I will never watch golf on television ever again. If I could say one more thing, something I've talked about here on Political Beatdown, something I talk about on my Mea Culpa podcast and on TV and so on. This country, the United States of America, is sitting with the largest oil reserve, untapped oil reserve in the world. It's like 600 billion barrels of oil. It's some wackadoodle number that it's hard to even conceptualize. What are we doing? Now, this is where, and I've said this so many times, I don't fault Joe Biden for having his opinion on whether it's fracking or oil exploration or whatnot. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's foolish. Me personally, I would do oil exploration. I would go ahead and I would get all of this oil out there. We have more than Saudi Arabia. We have more than Russia. We have more than Iran, all of them combined. We have enough to flood the market with cheap gas. We'll be paying $1 a gallon or $1.50 a gallon like we used to. It would be whatever it costs in order to, to store it, and as well as to, convert it from, it's originally sweet oil to, to gas that could be used for your cars. My problem, right? And I understand that it's not good for the environment, but I'll tell you what else isn't good for the environment. Saudi Arabia, right? It's certainly not good for the environment either. And what I would do is I would do all of this exploration. I would make the value so low that the Saudis would have no place within which to offset, and to offtake their oil production. Nobody would need it because we could provide more than enough oil to the world for the next 50 years. All right. And by 50 years, we all know that there won't even be the use of combustible fuels, fossil fuels anymore. Everything will be electric. I mean, there'll be a very small need for fossil fuels, and we'll have more than enough for that too. But we are allowing them to take their export product and to make so much money, so much fuck you money, that they can go ahead and they can give a guy $400 million just to have him, say that he's playing for live. And this one in soccer. They have enough to basically go in there and knock out the PGA, 100-plus-year-old, golf institution, simply with their disposable money. And we need to figure out how to put a stop to that. Because if that's the case, there's nothing that they can't buy.
Well, number one, I do think that this PGA deal is horrific. I think on the Messi front, he has announced that he's going to be playing actually in Miami, and I'm not condoning all the Messi acts. I'm not sure the amount of money regarding Saudi, but I think he may have turned some of that money down, although the PGA certainly didn't. One of the things I want to mention also, though, because you mentioned about drilling, one thing that President Biden has complained about is that while he has allowed drilling projects to take place, and Biden's been criticized for allowing some controversial drilling projects to take place, one of the things that Biden basically says is what the oil companies are doing, though, is even with the availability of drilling projects, they are still screwing over the American people by jacking up their prices, having record profits, and not wanting to invest any of their money, because that can mean less profits in some of these projects. For example, back in March, I think a few weeks after this Willow oil drilling project took place in Alaska, which environmentalists absolutely hated Biden doing that.
Look, I hate it also. I hate
well,
it also.
yeah, but
the only point
73
I'm trying to make, Ben, and then I'm leaving you alone to finish the thought. But the only point that I'm trying to make here is that which is the less of the two evils? That's the point I'm trying to make. And I'm not a fan of fracking. I want people to say drilling, oil exploration, no problem. Fracking, I do have a problem with. But at the same point in time, we are allowing our country to be bought out from underneath us, right? Thanks to a corrupt former president and his, sidekicks, meaning Jared, Ivanka, and so on. They've sold our country down the line. And I really do believe this. I think that Jared could be looking at some sort of a federal charge as well here for espionage. I really do.
I want to talk about Kushner. I want to talk about Ivanka. Just finishing the thought on the drilling projects, about 73 million acres of waters in the Gulf of Mexico was auctioned off to offshore oil and gas drilling by President Biden. Again, very controversial, but that was part of the Inflation Reduction Act. Going back to Ivanka and Jared Kushner, I want to show you this. This is from former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's announcement that he would be seeking the Republican presidential nomination. He went after Trump in that announcement. And look, I think that there are a lot of issues with Chris Christie, to say the least, but I'll play you this clip of Chris Christie. This is what he had to say about Ivanka and Jared. Play this clip.
So let me tell you something, everybody. The grift from this family is breathtaking. It's breathtaking. Jared Kushner and Ivanka Kushner walk out of the White House and months later get $2 billion from the Saudis. $2 billion from the Saudis. You think it's because he's some kind of investing genius? Or do you think it's because he was sitting next to the President of the United States for 4 years doing favors for the Saudis? That's your money. That's your money he stole. And gave it to his family. You know what that makes us? A banana republic. That's what it makes us. So, he may get 30% again. I'm not sure. Maybe he'll get more. Maybe he'll get less. But let me tell you what he'll know in 2024 that he had no idea of in 2016. He's in for a fight to get it.
Cohen, I want to get your response to that, and I want to talk about more updates regarding special counsel Jack Smith. Also, what's gone on in the House of Representatives today, where MAGA Republicans are now saying that the proof that they thought existed regarding this made-up document that they claim exists, that is missing now. The proof is missing. Just kind of a clown show there. We'll talk about all of that when we come back from this quick break. Ben Meiselas here. Breathe some life into your own backyard with FastGrowingTrees.com this spring. From shade to fresh fruit to privacy and natural beauty, let FastGrowingTrees.com help you plant your dream garden with their expert advice and fast, reliable shipping. FastGrowingTrees.com's plant experts curate thousands of easy-to-grow plant, shrub, and tree varieties for your unique climate. Meyer lemons to evergreens and everything in between. Happy plants, happy home, right? But sometimes it's hard to know which plants will do best. No problem, because with FastGrowingTrees.com, you get customized recommendations based on your specific needs. Plus, their plant experts are always available to help keep your plants growing healthy through the season and beyond. No more waiting in long lines and hauling heavy plants around. With FastGrowingTrees.com, you order online and your plants arrive at your door in just a few days. I love Fast Growing Trees because I found the Alberta peach tree I was looking for at a great price, and you will too. And with Fast Growing Trees' 30-day Alive and Thrive guarantee, you know everything will look great fresh out of the box. Join over 1.5 million happy Fast Growing Trees customers. So go to fastgrowingtrees.com/political now to get 15% off your entire order. Get 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com/political. That's fastgrowingtrees.com/political. And now back to the show. Good ad read, Ben. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by the one and only Michael Cohen. When we took the break, I showed you that video of Chris Christie's announcement that he would be seeking the Republican nomination for the presidency. And his approach is, I mean, too little, too late, but he's going to go after Donald Trump and call Trump a grifter. But, you know, he's everything he said in that clip was the truth and the whole truth there. What do you think?
Well, is there anything that he said that I haven't been saying, whether it's, to our brigaders or on my other podcast or on television? It's the same thing that I've been telling you, that Jared and Ivanka, and I want to remind our brigaders, pulled down $600+ million during the 4 years that they were senior advisors to President Donald J. Trump. They pulled down $600+ million. It's an obscene amount of money. And Chris Christie is right. Jared's no, as we like to say in Yiddish, Talmud Chacham. He's no genius amongst geniuses. In fact, I've said this 1,000 times. Jared almost bankrupted Kushner Company if it wasn't for the Gulf Coast countries who came in and bailed out 666 Fifth Avenue, the single worst real estate deal in the history of New York. I also want to remind the brigaders that when he was to receive the $2 billion from the Saudis, that the finance committee of the Saudi Investment Authority stated with no uncertain terms that Jared was not competent to manage their money. All right. He doesn't know what he's doing, and his track record is abysmal. Nevertheless, Mohammed bin Salman told them, I don't care, send him the money. All right. That's got to automatically set off warning bells as to why. What is it that Mohammed bin Salman owed Jared in order, to put $2 billion into a fund that Jared makes money on? At the way that it works is a 2 and 20. He gets 2% management fee, 20% of the profit. This is a fantastic deal if you are one of the main, hedge funds in the country who has a track record to demonstrate. Well, Jared certainly does not. So, look, we need to understand what's caused this relationship and why did they do what they would not do for anyone else in the whole world other than Jared Kushner. And again, I think that it's going to create for Kushner a very serious problem. And I believe down the road that you're going to see violations, against Kushner under the Espionage Act.
And look, MBS, the leader of Saudi Arabia, has said publicly, like he hasn't hid this, that I have Jared Kushner in my pocket. He said, I have Kushner in my pocket during the time that Jared Kushner was serving as essentially our ambassador to everything. We didn't elect him in that position. Trump gave him a portfolio to basically make life or death decisions over our lives. And when MBS came to town in the United States, he said, I have him in my pocket. So when you want to talk about, all the stuff they say, Hunter Biden this, Hunter Biden that, who had nothing to do with our government, just look at Jared Kushner. I want to give you this impression, Cohen. I want you to tell me who you think I am here. You ready for this? Go. Michael Cohen, first and foremost, okay? I am a Christian. I am a conservative. And I am a Republican in that order. And I just want to let you know that as long as you are one of those three things, you can try to kill me. You could try to kill me, Michael Cohen. Who am I?
Ben Meiselas, that could be the absolute worst impression of Michael Pence that I have ever heard. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not good. It's factually accurate, but it's not good.
Play the clip.
I think now more than ever, we ought to be finding ways we could actually come together.
Sir, we're going to get
and
to
this kind of action by the Department of Justice, I think, would only fuel further division in the country. And let me also say, I think it would also send a terrible message to the wider world. I mean, we're the emblem of democracy. We're the symbol of justice in the world. And the serious matter, which has already happened once in New York, of indicting a former president of the United States, sends a terrible message to the world. I hope the DOJ thinks better of it and resolves these issues without an indictment.
Sir, I just want to clarify. What you're saying is that if they believe he committed a crime, they should not go forward with an indictment? You just talked before about committing to the rule of law.
Let me be clear that no one's above the law.
Okay.
But with regard to the unique circumstances here, look, I had no business having classified documents in my residence, and I took full responsibility for it. President Biden had no business having them in his residence from when he was vice president as well. And the same with former President Trump. But I would just hope that there would be a way for them to move forward without the dramatic and drastic and divisive step of indicting a former president of the United States. We've got to find a way to move our country forward and restore confidence in equal treatment under the law in this country. We really do.
Sir,
Michael Cohen.
Ben, was your impersonation of Dana Bash?
No, it was Pence.
It was Mike Pence. Yeah, I figured that. I mean, he is let me be clear. Faced asshole. It's amazing. You know what? Like I do on every political beatdown, somebody's got to get the big fuck you. Hey, Mike Pence, fuck you. Fuck you, you fucking weirdo. All right? You absolutely sick, pathetic piece of shit. Honestly, that's really what he is. What he's doing is he's sucking up to every single person that he can while trying to show that he's somebody who believes in the rule of law and the Constitution. Unfortunately, you cannot show that. You cannot show that if, in fact, you are going to back Donald J. Trump, a man who doesn't believe in the Constitution, doesn't believe in the rule of law, and most certainly doesn't believe that the rule of law applies to him.
Look, I couldn't agree more with you. I want to show you an equal trader in a little bit, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, what she just said before we went live. But I want to show you some of these posts that Donald Trump is making. And, one of the things people asked last week is, well, why was Donald Trump's lawyers meeting with special counsel Jack Smith, his team, and the Department of Justice lawyers? One thing that you always have to be very, very careful of when you deal with Trump or his lawyers, they are always bad faith actors. Everything they are doing at that meeting is trying to set you up, DOJ and special counsel Jack Smith's team, so that they can then go and whine and complain
And
that they're
file a
being
motion
treated.
and
File a
file a
motion.
motion to delay.
And they just did that. Like, literally, it's breaking news right now because Donald Trump posted this last night. I frankly had no clue what he was talking about and perhaps still don't really know. But this was his post. He goes, shocking, one of the top prosecutors at the Department of Justice, he calls it, was reportedly so obsessed with, quote, getting Trump that he tried to bribe and intimidate a lawyer representing someone being targeted and harassed to falsely accuse and fabricate a story about, he called it's just so hard to even read this because he's just an idiot, about President Donald J. Trump. He's not the president, and a crime that doesn't exist. This criminal and salacious act from within the DOJ has brought shame and embarrassment to this once great and respected institution. Because of this, there is now extreme turmoil inside the DOJ. There's not extreme turmoil in that, but we just learned about what that story is while we've been live on the air. And the issue is that this lawyer that Donald Trump is referring to represented that guy, Walt Nauta, the person who moved the boxes the day before the top counterintelligence official, Jay Bratt, arrived at Mar-a-Lago on June 3rd. So Jay Bratt had a meeting with Walt Nauta's lawyer, and Walt Nauta's lawyer is accusing Jay Bratt of making comments about the lawyer's desire to become a judge in the future, and claiming that Jay Bratt threatened that you won't become a judge if you don't play ball. And now there's briefing and motions that are based on this contrived controversy. And this is why, though, Donald Trump's Save America bullshit organizations and the MAGA Inc. organizations, all of those political action organizations, are paying for all of the workers at Mar-a-Lago. And a lot of it is to put these lawyers there to also try to set up Jack Smith and Jack Smith's team and to do exactly what happened there. I ultimately think that nothing significant is going to come of it, but this is why you have to dot every I and cross every T, and you have to be as diligent and vigilant as possible, because everything is a setup. Everything is a bad faith actor, and he's amassed over $200-300 million grifting off of his base to have this army of lawyers represent everybody and try to set up the DOJ.
Yeah, but the problem, though, Ben, is take a look to see who the lawyers are. You're not really talking about legal beagles here. All right. You're really talking about, B and C type lawyers. However, they are willing to do things that, most white shoe firm lawyers would not do.
Yeah.
And, look, I'm experiencing it. Thanks to everybody who has donated to the GoFundMe. We're still asking for support, and that money is not like Donald's going into, my pocket, not one penny of it. It's all for the legal fees. One of the things that their lawyer, we have now requested a deposition of Donald Trump in that specific case. And we believe that we will get it. Of course, they want to then put a gag order, so they're probably now going to go in because we talk about it. And I truly believe in transparency. The guy brings a $500 million lawsuit against me, makes all sorts of bullshit, reckless, and frivolous, claims against me. I want to then depose him and prove that what was said in that complaint is complete nonsense, and it was basically designed to intimidate, harass me, to obstruct justice, and to hurt me. So, I want to make sure that we get this deposition and that I can share it with the American people who are entitled to know what this guy is doing, because this guy will most probably be the Republican nominee right, for the presidency in 2024. Why should they not be entitled to this information? And if you were afraid that this information was going to get out, knowing that it's a lie, well, maybe then you shouldn't have brought a $500 million lawsuit against me, you dumb fuck. All right? It's just that simple. So all I want is just, we are going to keep this. Chances are, the attorney there, Brito, is going to bring some sort of a motion for a protective order to ensure that none of this information gets out. And that would be a shame because, again, I am 100% of the mindset that all of this information belongs to the public, right? It really does. It belongs to the public, and transparency, something we don't see a lot of, especially not out of the Republican Party. It's the transparency that the American people so desperately need.
And so for all the brigaders who didn't hear in the earlier episode, what are you doing? You need to be watching every episode of Political Beatdown. But Michael Cohen, of course, is asking for Donald Trump's deposition. Donald Trump sued Michael Cohen in federal court in the Miami division of the Southern District of Florida. And then when Cohen sought the deposition, Donald Trump said, I can't do it now, in the case that Donald Trump brought until after the election. And then Donald Trump is now saying that there needs to be a protective order. It all needs to be kept secret. After filing this ridiculous $500 million lawsuit, Cohen just wants discovery that he's entitled to, and one of those things is a deposition. And if you don't want to participate in a deposition, Donald Trump, do not bring the federal lawsuit suing Michael Cohen for $500 million in the first place in federal court. And finally, I want to show you this clip. This is from Marjorie Taylor Greene. The MAGA Republicans are like high-fiving each other because they got to view a document, which is some hearsay allegation that was made by a foreign asset that was funneled through Rudy Giuliani to Bill Barr in 2020, that Bill Barr said is just complete and utter BS. And by the way, the FBI director, Christopher Wray, who's a Republican, had always said, look, it's still a document that's protected as a confidential record. It comes from a source. I'm happy to show it to you. I could just show it to you in a secured facility. And because the document doesn't have any credibility to begin with, it's from a foreign asset. It's not credible. It was made to a source within the FBI, but it is hearsay on top of hearsay. And so the Republicans viewed the document after trying to threaten Christopher Wray with contempt, and they are like high-fiving each other, like the FBI caved. The FBI didn't cave. They've always been telling you that they would let you look at this document. They're just not going to make public and publish BS allegations that are made on a form that anybody can fill out and give to sources within the FBI where there's no proof, where there's no substantiation. The FBI is not in the MAGA Republican business of defaming people with hearsay on top of hearsay that comes from Russia and foreign assets. So finally, they got to see it. This is what Marjorie Taylor Greene said when she was at a press conference. Here's what she said.
He said at the time there were no direct payments made to the big guy, but in a meeting later, after he had become more upset as things were unfolding, he told the informant that he has two pieces of evidence showing proof of payment to Hunter and specifically Joe Biden.
So just to be clear, a foreign asset told an FBI informant, so hearsay on top of hearsay,
Does it not sound like, by the way, does it not sound like the Steele dossier? Right?
Well, and here's the thing though. If there is proof, if there's an email, receipts, anything, like here's the thing that we always talk about on Political Beatdown. We would not be just like, if there was evidence that bribes were truly made, we wouldn't just be like, oh, because we think Biden's doing a good job, be like, yeah, we support bribes now. The same way MAGA Republicans will justify anything. But what we absolutely don't stand for here is baseless defamation where you just go, oh, there's a whistleblower. Oh, but the whistleblower disappeared. Oh, another whistleblower. Yeah, that whistleblower disappeared.
It's really a shame. Ben, it's really truly a shame.
Salty, do we have the clip of this other ridiculous one, Anna Paulina Luna, where she talks about the one of these people they call him like one-eyed. Just play this clip. I can't even describe it. Play it.
You know, that's a question that we asked ourselves, but I want to mention something too, Jesse. The FBI has moles within the FBI that are actively leaking information to the Biden family, specifically Hunter Biden. You know, it was brought to our attention that there was a mole within the FBI by the name of One Eye that was updating Hunter on what was currently taking place. So it's in my opinion that the FBI, one, is definitely not something that we trust as House oversight, but also, too, that they have an issue within their own institutions with accountability and leaks.
Yeah, the one-eyed mole.
And on the lower third, it says whistleblowers. On the lower third, you see that it says whistleblowers fear for their lives. FBI.
And here's what we need to do, Ben. Ben, here's what we need to do. We need to stop giving people like this Anna Paulina, we need to stop giving her oxygen. We don't even need to talk about. She's so fucking stupid that I wish that maybe if we play her again next week, she'll get the 2 middle fingers, despite the fact we already gave that one out today. To Mike Pence, fuck you. All right. It's so stupid at this point. And all we're doing is, we're just regurgitating their stupidity. Why should we do that? What we need to do is we need to stay on our message. Our message is to it's to do what's good for all Americans. It's to stop the nonsense. It's to try to ensure that everybody has a decent paying job, that, don't worry about a book that's going to offend you because it's about, some famous Black person or a famous Jewish person, or about the Holocaust, or about a transgender, or about, a love between, 2 men, 2 women, whatever, right? Stop worrying about that shit. Let's worry about our economy. Let's worry about everything else that right now is plaguing this country, so that we can all just enjoy, the benefit of being American, instead of this bullshit fighting, listening to about One Eye. One Eye. Look at how stupid. And Jesse Waters, my God, what the fuck has happened to him? This isn't journalism anymore. This is comedy. That's really what it is. It's comedy of stupidity.
So, Cohen, on that note, we'll leave our brigaders with this clip with President Biden and the Prime Minister of the UK. Let's play this clip. This just happened earlier in the day. Play the clip.
And let me close with a personal reflection. As Joe mentioned, he and I have seen quite a lot of each other in recent months. I gather our wives have even started to take spin classes together. And we were talking earlier about our hometowns. Joe is very rightly proud of Scranton. And I was telling him a little bit about Southampton in England, where I'm from. Now, not everyone knows this, but it was in a church in Southampton where, in the days before he set sail for these shores, that John Winthrop first spoke about his dream of building a city on a hill. And that reminds us that the relationship between our 2 nations is unlike any other. Our alliance is so strong because it is not abstract. It is rooted in our people. And it's never been about our history alone, but about our ability to grasp the future. We share the same beliefs, pursue the same purpose, and act according to the same ideals. And that's why today, as we meet the challenges of our time, we can depend on each other with absolute conviction. When the United States and the United Kingdom stand together, the world is a safer, better, and more prosperous place. And that's why ours is the indispensable alliance. Thank you.
I think that's a great way to close out this episode, seeing a very distinguished meeting, a serious meeting, serious people, not posts in all caps. You got President Biden, the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, talking about issues of our alliance, having serious adult conversations. And again, we disagree with Biden. We talk about disagreements with Biden on this episode. We're not supposed to agree on everything, but there's adult leadership that cares about our democracy, that's compassionate, that's intelligent, and that is striving for the best outcomes. And sometimes you make mistakes. That's life. We make mistakes all the time, Cohen, you, myself. That is part of life. And we try to own up to them when we do. And that's what we aspire for here at Political Beatdown and across the MeidasTouch network, is just doing our best. Can't always be perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We really are. Unfortunately, that's just life. But we're going to do our best to make sure we're well researched. We're doing this compassionately. We're bringing you the truth. We're putting in the hard work. Most importantly, we are all doing this together, because none of this is possible without you, the brigaders. And Cohen and I know that the work that you put in, the support that you show, not just to our show, we love that you support our show, but after the show, the work you put in to support our democracy is so important. So thank you all. Cohen, I'll give you the final word as always.
There's really nothing more to say here today. I always say it: vote, 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 vote. We all just need to make sure that we're all registered to vote. Make sure that you get out there. Make sure that your neighbors, your friends, your cousins, your relative, everybody, is registered to vote, because we need a massive blue wave to ensure that these fucking animals never, ever, ever get inside the gates of the White House ever again. It will ultimately mean the end of democracy as we know it. We talk about, for example, the weaponization. Donald likes to talk about how right now the weaponization by the DOJ against him, it's deflection. And again, it's why I beseech everybody, get my book, Revenge. Go out, buy it, make sure that it's part of your summer reading. Why? Because you will fully understand the gameplay, the game plan that Donald Trump is using right now in order, to deflect and to make the claims that the weaponization of the Justice Department is against him by the current administration. It's bullshit. He knew what he was doing when he was president, and so he's trying to deflect and to put it onto Biden. If there were documents, if there was information on Hunter Biden's laptop, I promise you all, this group of animals would have released it. There would already be massive investigations. And here's the funny thing too: those massive investigations would not be started by Republicans. I assure you, it would be started by Democrats. All right, the same way that they went after people like Al Franken. All right. Democrats have no problem with bringing investigations against other Democrats. It's the Republicans. When you see that piece of shit Pence, who sits there and he turns around and he's trying to placate everyone and to protect Donald, when Donald wanted to see him hanging from a gallows on January 6th, it goes to show you, not only is he stupid, he is absolutely 100% incompetent and should not even be considered. He should not even be on the ticket to be president of the United States of America. He has no business. The guy is stupid, and the guy absolutely is full of shit. And it's enough already. We have enough of that going on right now in D.C. We need to drain this swamp, and we need to put people in Washington who actually care about you and me and the rest of us in the country more than they care about lining their own pockets.
Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Political Beatdown. On the YouTube description, you could donate to Cohen's legal fund. If you can, it would be greatly appreciated. It all goes to legal fees. I will be doing a longer video about the Allen versus Milligan decision just decided by the United States Supreme Court, upholding the district court decision in Alabama, which preserves Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and declared the gerrymander district by the Alabama legislature to be discriminatory, adding which will function to add an additional Democratic seat there, as well as strike down some of the racist gerrymander districts in places like Louisiana and likely North Carolina. So a big Supreme Court ruling, a 5-4 decision that many saw as surprising, because you actually had Justice John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh join the 3 Democratic appointed justices in a 5-4 decision. But I'll break that down in much further detail in a video we'll will post on our YouTube channel. But those were the highlights there. I didn't want to leave without talking about that. Everybody check us out as well wherever audio podcasts are available. Just search Political Beatdown. So if you listen to this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the audio podcast. Audio podcast listeners, subscribe to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel as well. You can check us out at store.MeidasTouch.com for the best pro-democracy gear, including the official Mea Culpa podcast Mar-a-Lago Correctional Facility shirt, store.MeidasTouch.com. Brigaders, thank you so much. Hit subscribe on our YouTube channel now. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Shout out to the Meidas Mighty.